Okay, first up, tiger claw. There's two forms that we're going to look at. We're going to look at the actual claw shape where we're doing this is the swatting claw and the grabbing claw. Grabbing claw, the thumb is going to come down under, and so when you're doing grabbing claw, it's going to hit more like the swatting claw, but it's going to come down with the thumb out a little bit more. It's going to be a hooking action. That comes in handy a lot. So training that is really important. So a lot of times to do this, this action, pulling back on the claw itself, is really important. So practicing our claw hand series is going to be useful. But getting hold of one of these, you can get these at Sports Authority. That's where I got these. They're the soft sand balls. This one's a 6-pounder, which is really good. It's about the size that fits the hand. Notice how the hand shape is really important, that the claw can dig in. Developing the strength of the claw itself is more important even than the conditioning to begin with. The conditioning here, you can see that I have my conditioning accoutrements here. I don't recommend starting with the rock, but that is also very handy for being able to slap into that grab. So first thing, get your grip. Getting a soft sand ball that you can grab into. This 6-pounder is perfect. Squeeze in, lift, and hold. And you want to do exercises just like this. Pull it back. Okay, but that's going to be a grabbing. The swatting, that's going to be more for these. Okay? And that will cover that in a little bit on a different video. So first, claw grab, tiger claw, proper shape, swatting claw, grabbing claw. Please notice the difference. Grabbing claw, hook and pull. You should feel it really pulling back here. You got to really strengthen those tendons up. So the longer you hold that, the better, but also repetition is like time. So pull up, and so what we're wanting to do is not get weak where we're starting to do stuff like this. So you want to stay in that strength zone and just repeat that successful strength. So if you can only do this once and put it down, that's where you start. Once, put it down, that's where you start. Even if you put the palm all the way on here, then grab and pick up, that's a start. Eventually you just want the fingertips, you can see you just want the fingertips to be able to hook in there, okay? Because what you're going to be doing when you hit for that grab, it's going to be like this. You're going to hit, grab, and up. Hit, grab, and up, okay? That is for strengthening the back tendons and the claw grip and the claw hand itself. Peace. Thank you. Okay, so next up we're going to do the tiger pad, or the palm, the upper part of the tiger's claw. It's really important to keep in mind the distinction between the grabbing claw, right? So the grabbing claw that I showed you in the previous hand conditioning video where we worked on this, very up close with those. So this time though, I want you to notice, because I'm going to show you some applications of this, that the tiger paw has several pieces to it. And so it has the claws themselves, right? And that's our fingers. And then we have the pad here and the palm here. So we're still calling this a palm heel. If you look at the structure of a tiger's paw, they have this, but down here is a large pad, and then up here they have their individual pads that go to each finger. Our hand is not actually a cat's appendage, so we have to condition it so that it can act similarly and effectively, but also we have to train ourselves like we're humans. Go figure, because that's what we are. Well, at least that's what they say we are. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our pads up so that we can focus on one piece. And the piece we're wanting to focus on here is this upper part, or the forepad, versus the palm heel. We're just going to do the tiger palm or paw, or pads, excuse me. And we're going to hit here. Now we're going to avoid overstimulating our fingertips because we don't want to shear or damage them. So, but because we may or may not have traumatized our thumb here for conditioning where we actually get this kind of strength in, because hitting this way is not the same, especially if we're doing the slap or the swat. The swat does not hit the palm, the thumb as strong as it hits the tips of the fingers. So if we want to get into the grab, which we talked about the strength of the tendons in the grab, and we want to hit that thumb in here, now we can get a combined pad conditioning with our thumb hooking conditioning. That way, if we have to hook, which that is one of the tiger's actions, it's going to hook with that thumb. And that hook right there, oh, you can get right in you get right up in here and you just around the trachea. There's so many ways that hooking thumb can be used. We'll do that in person applications. I don't want that on video. So here, the hand conditioning, you can include that thumb conditioning, which remember, we're doing fascia and tendon and ligament, which means we're going to need our secret ingredient, the Dr. Jow, also known as Dita Jow. Thanks to Stefan's chemistry knowledge, has made the best I've ever used, and I've used so many formulations I cannot tell you. This is the one to go with. Too bad people don't put credence in it anymore. It's the bomb diggity. Wouldn't do this without it. So my hands have already been treated a couple times, but it's mostly so it can withstand the amount of trauma that I'm going to be inducing. Okay, so here it's going to hit, and you want to make sure you have your bag set up so that you have a good impact. During the conditioning, you will probably need to change the pad position a couple times. That is not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. Now you're hearing this smack here, and it will flatten out. So pop it over, and there you go again. So it's funny how many blood stains I have on this. So that's for this part of the tiger palm. Very good for the smack. Good for strengthening that claw grip with the thumb, with the hook, and move on to the next one. So again, hand conditioning is not just about, well, here we go, before I start my next set. Hand conditioning is not just about hitting the hands over and over again. I do this at least twice a day. I do a intense session down here, and then depending on how the hands handled it or what I did for a workout or what I did for farming, like if I'm moving like a ton of rocks, which I'm still moving so many tons of rocks, I won't do as much hand conditioning because then you're going to overuse and then injure the hand. And then the hand is not going to be responsive to the conditioning. It's very important to consider that. Yesterday, for example, Chrissy did the math. I moved 4,800 pounds of mulch across the farm to different areas. I moved it with the tractor front end loader, but shoveled it in, shoveled it out. So the amount of repetitions of lifting and moving stuff using the grip is not even worth referencing. It was a lot, but then that's normal day on the farm. But what isn't normal is the impact stresses from hitting things. So the previous one I was showing you, a different one was showing the pad and the conditioning here where we hook these, right? So now if we're going to actually train something, this is like on farming, I never go around hitting stuff. Well, that's not true. Okay, I don't do it as a part of doing chores. Like none of my chores require that I'm smacking stuff like this. So part of good hand conditioning is developing a full rounded hand, which for me, because I'm also an ape stylist, I'm going to be using forearm conditioning. And with tiger, we'll get to the tiger elbow stuff. That's important. In the setup video or setup photo, I showed you that I have a pillar, I have a 2x4 directly underneath this, so that I'm striking down on top of something that will not break. So the column structure underneath here is thick enough. and it's directly underneath this. Ow, and apparently there's screws sticking out of the back of it. It's directly beneath this, so I can actually hit this hard. So when I drop down with my elbows, that elbow can take a deep hit with a full body jump and a hit. So, oosh, I have an injured calf. Shouldn't be doing the jumping. Anyway, so setup for your training is very important. And we use this for the palm. The Tiger also has these other actions that have this, it's a scooping, cupping, very much like our knife hand, but it's when you're actually using the palm heel edge or palm edge to strike. It does it outward like that, and it does it inward like that. So doing these, so so I like to do rhythmic things, usually have music blasting in the background, so I just sit over here and of course I can't sing and I don't have rhythm. The other thing that I'm using here is I'm using my strikes to control my pad. So if I just hit here, it's going to keep moving that way. If I just hit here, it's going to move that way. But if I'm hitting back and forth, and like I said before, you're going to have to readjust your conditioning environment so that it works perfect for you. Okay? Whew. My hands are getting good conditioning today. So previously I've gone over grip strength, which is developing the tendon strength, the claw hand. We have two major claws. So we have the gripping claw. We have, and the gripping claw includes the hooking thumb. And then we have the swatting claw or paw, which the thumb gets pulled back because you're hitting more of a flat strike like this, right? Okay, when you come into a grip, you're going to hit here and grab stuff like that, and that will, you get it right up underneath there into that pit. So could you imagine like somebody comes in with a strike, so you pop, pop, bam, and you get right there, whack, right to the face, and then of course more Tiger stuff later. So there's other ways in which we want to train our tendons besides the grip strength. One of those is, so I use this underneath. Sometimes I use the rock underneath. Okay, it depends. In this particular case, I'm going to use this. The rock is on standby for the moment. I can't actually demonstrate that today because of a broken hand. And yeah, I know you say because of a broken hand. So you can see right here, that's the bone I sheared off with that stupid rock. So I'm going to avoid doing that. So what I'm going to show you right now is, in this particular case, instead of just like smacking the palm, we'll get to the palm heel in a second, but instead of smacking the fingers as in the swat with the thumb pulled back, we're going to put the thumb in the claw grip position, and then we're just going to, and so what I'm doing is I'm not hitting fast, but I'm hitting hard and down strong. So, and then dig, 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 dig. Now, so as you get stronger, you're going to be able to hit harder. Your fingertips won't be able to take it. So that's why you want to hit not as hard, but you want to put the tension into it. So that tension will help to increase the tendon strength, and it will increase, which we call tensile strength for fascial conditioning. That tensile strength is from here. Now this is where you get into doing like stat isometrics, where you actually just try to hold that position. And just doing that on this thing, my thumb is already getting tender, so I got to be a little careful there. But so this is not about your pad. We're not even hitting the palm. It's just the fingertips, and then you're coming down and. And so one of the ways I like to do this before my fingers get too sensitive is I like to do this, like get in there and actually do the grabbing action. So it's the hit with the grab. It's the hit with the grab. Hit, hook. Now another way that can be done, when you want to work that in space, you reach out and grab. So now you have the slap and grab conditioning to go with it. And I've shown you guys that before. That is a great way to do that. But the thing about that is people tend to do too much of this. Okay? So that action is good when you have a good, well-trained grab, when your claw hand in the grab position is well-trained. Okay? Keep that in mind before going on to your next conditioning. Okay, and lastly, in preparation for your spring training, what I want you guys to do is also make sure the palm heel of the tiger's murder mitten claw is also well conditioned, because there's just a lot of smacking, and as you can see back here with this is the guy you're going to be smacking a lot out of. Or my little training dummy can take it a lot more than you guys or I can. So like we did with the SWAT, there is an action in the wrist that you have to consider versus just having a shape and doing this. We're not automaton or robotic. We're not like Sensei used to say is the rock'em sock'em robots. So what you want to have is when the palm comes in, you want to flip into that tiger palm shape, or tiger claw shape. But this time you necessarily have to pull that thumb back. Just like if you're striking the dummy right here, you don't strike with that thumb forward. You have to strike with that thumb pulled back. So you have to also practice the way you're going to apply it. So to practice that is best done during your hand conditioning. And like I said multiple times in every video, is you have to also set yourself up well. So this needs to be propped up so that I can come into it like this, and you can see that strike. Now for the palm heel, I have decades upon decades of hitting stuff with my palm, so I can skip right to the steel shot. I don't recommend you skip to the steel shot. If you want to start with even your soft sandball, because if you can start with the soft sandball, the same thing is occurring. As you can see here, right? That action is pulling that wrist back as the tiger's paw or claw is hitting the target, right? So I'm showing you with the steel shot because it's nothing to my hands, right? But notice the action itself is important to perform it as if you were doing the strike. So just doing this, like a cat would be massaging itself or another one of its litter or friends, whatever, dog, cat, person. What you want to do though is make sure you're coming at it as you're striking the way the tiger would strike with that palm. So it's coming forward. So now, if you watch some of the tiger fighting videos, they do that. They don't just swat. They actually come in and hit here because they're going to jump on things. I don't know if you've seen cats do that. That is a thing. So you're seeing me doing that with both palms. I don't recommend you do that until your hands are well conditioned. Okay. And lastly, I mentioned the rock. The rock is really good in this position for just getting that whole hand condition. So this thing is shaped. I picked this from American River in Sacramento because it fit my whole hand. I can wrap it around perfectly. So this one is something you hit lightly, but you would hit frequently. And you got to find your own rock. This one is just to get all the in-betweens, because all the conditioning I've shown you thus far is all pieces and parts of the tiger's claw. What you want to do though is find something where you can just basically, I do this or this, right? Just tossing it back and forth like this is also good for conditioning. And it's not going to overly damage your hand, because even though it's a rock, because you're doing it under very, very light load. But you must also remember, like I just stopped because I've been doing hand conditioning this morning, yesterday, etc. And there's no point in causing damage because damage sets you back. So you want to always stop while it's still painful and uncomfortable versus waiting till your hand is numb and you can't tell if you're going to hurt it. Stefan can tell you stories about how he hurt himself in his smoke jump. There you go. Peace out. And don't forget your Dr. Jow.